Call.
Juliet is absent with notice. Loops,
Here.
Nelson,
Here.
Taylor,
Here.
Hoffman is absent with notice. Spiz,
Present.
Gershenson ex officio.
Here.
Johnson is remote. And Commissioner Erickson Galt.
Here.
You have four.
Alrighty. We have a quorum, so let's all stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, is there any corrections to the minutes from the previous meeting?
I move to approve the minutes from September 10th, 2024.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Spiz, supported by Commissioner Taylor. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is approval of the agenda. Any changes or corrections to the agenda?
Move to approve.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Lube, supported by Commissioner Spiz. Any discussion? We can do that by voice vote, correct? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, motion carries. All right, so first on the agenda is public comment for items on the agenda. Is there any members of the public wishing to speak on items on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on. Next up is presentations. Let's see, Jim here.
I don't see Jim here, I just texted him. He did confirm.
You can add them on if you get to.
Yeah, let's not delay, we got a lot to do here, let's move on. Let's go to 7B, which is Oakland County Land Bank Authority Annual Report.
Clicker, can I sit somewhere where I can see if I sit? Can I sit on the side? Or do I have to sit? Okay. Good morning. I'm glad I got here on time. Yeah, one lane on Woodward is closed that I didn't know about. You just never know, right? I'm Jill Robinson. I'm the Executive Director for the Oakland County Land Bank Authority. And I'm here to talk to you about our second full year as a land bank and talk about what we've done this past year and kind of what we're looking at towards the future. We have also included the actual annual report in your packet as well. It's just a quick, I can see my face twice. Okay, these are our wonderful board members. We have our treasurer, Robert Wittenberg. We have Dennis Mitchell, who works for Burton Mallow. Martin Manna, who is the president of the Chaldean Chamber. Kalfani Stevens, who is the deputy mayor of Pontiac, and Jeff Campbell, who was the city manager in Beverly Hills, who has had to resign. So I think at some point it's gonna come to a board for interviews. To this board? Okay, so that will happen probably pretty soon. So we'll be looking for somebody to fill that spot. Just a little briefly about our mission. Our goal is to enhance our county through innovative and inclusive economic and community development strategies while helping facilitate the productive reuse of land. So what we have right now in our inventory is nothing. What we are doing is project-based things right now. The plan is, and I'll get a little bit further into it, is to move everything that is in the Oakland County Treasurer's inventory, which is everything that went through tax foreclosure but didn't sell, into the Oakland County Land Bank Authority. A little timeline of our milestones, talking about the creation just in 2022. 2023 was dedicated to kind of figuring out who we were gonna be, creating our missions and values. We did tours with our board. We looked at some of the things that the Oakland County Treasurer's Office owned and potential projects that we were working on. We did get a blight elimination grant through the State Land Bank Authority. With that, we stabilized 2 historic homes that the county treasurer had owned for about 10 years in the GM Modern Historic neighborhood in Pontiac. And that's a neighborhood we've been working in for a long time. We've had quite a few houses come and go through the tax foreclosure process. And in that time, the neighborhood has formed a neighborhood organization that has stabilized that neighborhood, and it's really fun to see what's going on there. And we'll get a little bit more into that with another project that we're doing. And then in 2024, this year, we were also awarded a couple of competitive grants through the Blight Elimination Program. One is a $500,000 grant. That was called Round 3. Round 4, we got about $600,000. And then sold 5 properties, so we're slowly moving properties from the treasurer's office into the land bank, from the land bank into new owners' hands. That way we can capture that 550 tax capture, which land bank properties are eligible to capture 50% of taxes for 5 years. And that will hopefully at some point allow us to have some operating expenses, so we can be a little bit more sustainable on our own. We also are in the process of acquiring properties from the State Land Bank Authority. So everything that they currently own, that they have been taken care of, will come into the Oakland County Land Bank Authority within the next month or two. And then everybody knows the Casa del Rey apartment building in Pontiac that we've also owned. We acquired that through tax foreclosure. I think it was the week I came to the county 10 years ago. So I've been working on that for a little bit of time. This one just explains the blight elimination grants through the State Land Bank Authority. Rounds 1 and 2 were general fund money. Rounds 3 and 4 are ARPA funds. So we have the same deadlines that everybody has. The goals were to stabilize and revitalize neighborhoods, to stimulate local economies, and create opportunities for redevelopment. And that is exactly what we looked for when we were looking for projects. And I think we found some good ones. And this just again talks about that round 1. We are in the process. So what we did with that $200,000 is we went through an RFP process and we picked a developer to stabilize the homes. They were in really bad shape. So this allowed us to replace the windows, the roofs, fix anything in the foundations that were wrong, stabilize the envelope of the house so then a developer can come in and is what's happening right now. They're gonna redevelop fully the house and then they'll sell those to homeowners. So that's in the process of happening right now. And then round 3 is the McCarroll School, which is owned by the city of Pontiac. So when we were looking at this grant funding, one of the things that kept going to the top of the list was schools in Pontiac. There has been a real problem with trespassing, with just the neighborhood surrounding it and the suffering that they have had to do for generations, really. Like some of these schools have been closed for 20 years or more. So how do we work with the city to figure out a way to get these demolished and also have a plan in the future? Because we're not really interested in just a big vacant piece of land forever, but it's better than a vacant school that kids are getting into. And if you just look online, you can Google and see pictures that people have taken inside of all these schools for many, many years. So this particular school, owned by the city of Pontiac, it's a collaborative effort. The city is putting in $300,000 towards the demolition. We have $500,000. This just announced a couple of weeks ago that they are going to be doing a recreation facility. They passed at City Council, I believe it was $37 million to build that facility. So the hopes are that that will shovels in the ground spring of '25. And that will, really change that neighborhood. And this is also in the GM Modern neighborhood. So this is just another thing that we are helping to contribute to make this neighborhood better for the neighbors, give them what they deserve, help property values, and just give people something to do in the city. And then here's another school. This is round 4. We've since had to go back and ask for a little bit more money because we didn't realize how much water was in the basement of the school. These schools are 100 years old and we don't know how they're constructed because we don't have plans for them. So when we went in, there was a lot of water in the basement, which we thought was the only basement, then we discovered there were tunnels throughout the entire downstairs that were filled to the top with water. So those waters contained all sorts of nasty things, so we had to work to make sure that water was disposed of properly. So we went back, and I believe we got another $150,000 for that water removal from that school. This school is owned by Micah Six. Everybody might be familiar with them. They're redeveloping Webster School. And the discussion on this one is we've talked a lot about this community land trust model. We're trying to figure out how to maintain affordability for people in every city in Oakland County. And one of the models could potentially be this community land trust, and that might be a discussion we have at some other time, but basically a nonprofit owns the land and then somebody purchases the house. And there's an agreement that they can sell the house at some point, but they don't get the full appreciation of the value. They get whatever the agreed upon amount is. Maybe it's 25%, maybe it's 50%. So it's kind of an in-between between renting and fully home ownership. But the goal is that this nonprofit controls the land in perpetuity so that the taxes on the land never generate to the owner of the house. And the plan for this one is, when they're done with Webster, is to develop a senior housing development that will be smaller footprint houses, not tiny houses, not like the 400 square foot ones, but more of the 1,000 square foot, potentially having basements, but other community amenities, maybe a community house. And I actually went to Muskegon over, my days are confusing now, last week, I think. And they also are doing a community land trust model through a nonprofit called Dwelling Place. Oh, that's Grand Rapids, sorry. Dwelling Place is in Grand Rapids. So they're doing this, and they've been working on it for 10 years, and they have sold their first 4 homes right now. So it's not an easy thing, but it's also, I think, getting more palatable from governments, and appraisers are understanding it better, and people are understanding it better. So it's just about educating people on what that looks like. So hopefully, in the next 5 years or so, we'll start to see some development on this property. And then finally, Casa del Rey. Like I said, this is a 100-year-old apartment building, surprisingly in good condition. When we, as the county treasurer, took it through tax foreclosure, we did go in and use something called Secure View on the first 2 stories of the windows, and that is something that goes over the windows, which makes it difficult to break into. So we have been lucky enough that it hasn't been broken into a lot, it hasn't been completely destroyed inside. So the couple that's gonna redevelopment, Renita and Gregory Coleman, I've been working with them for about 1.5 years now. I'm happy to say I think we're closing on October 15th with them. And just to tell you how difficult these projects are and how much collaboration is involved and necessary, they have funding through the MDC, MISHDA, Missing Middle, they have IFF, they have the Oakland County Housing Trust Fund, they have city ARPA funds. They have a deferred development amount. They're working with DTE to get a reimbursement on some things. So I think the value of the land bank and the Oakland County Land Trust and all of these other folks is, it's important to work together and look at timelines, because these timelines from all these grants are sometimes very different, and it's always surprising. We're all the state, we're all the county, we all live in the same places. We need to figure out how to make that work better. And I think we're doing a good job on this one. I think it's really painful for people that are used to kind of a straight line. But I also think if we want to assist emerging developers and people that don't have the experience of our very savvy developers, we have to be a little conscious of what that looks like and how we approach things maybe in a little bit of a different way. And then lastly, just some of our partners that we've been working with a lot. Land banks and the Brownfield Authority go hand in hand. Anything that comes into the land bank automatically becomes Brownfield qualified. So we obviously work with Brad Hansen over in the Brownfield Authority. The Oakland County Housing Trust Fund and Kyle and Khadijah and that whole group work very closely with them. It's been a great relationship. And then our nonprofit housing developers, Habitat for Humanity, Community Housing Network, and Venture. We work very closely with them just to figure out where a vacant lot is that's in their purview that they wanna build on. We're looking right now to work with, we're gonna have about 100 lots from the state land bank. We'll have our around 450 lots, and then the city of Pontiac has several hundred lots as well. And the plan for the future is to work with the city, because most everything is in Pontiac right now. But work with the city and figure out how we can assemble properties and then work together to find some qualified developers through an RFQ process, and then look at places in the city that have maybe 15 or 20 lots together, do an RFP, let people know what we want them to build, duplexes, triplexes, single family, whatever that looks like, and then figure out how to get that built with the help of MSHDA and MEDC and the city. And then one other thing that we're continuing to do is so the 550 tax capture is really the only way Michigan land banks are funded, and that's difficult. A lot of it is vacant lots. I think this particular land bank was actually kicked up because of a Commerce Township project that the state land bank worked on. There was some higher end houses, so that tax capture is pretty significant. That's kind of a unicorn, but there are possibilities for other projects like that in the future. But there are conversations about how to fund land banks in maybe a different way. They're kicking around a lot of ideas right now, but I will absolutely let you know when we settle on something, and I might ask for a little help. Talking to legislators and figuring out how to make that easier for us. And that's it. If anybody has any questions?
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Gergensen.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
You're doing great work.
Thank you.
You mentioned that you needed $1.5 million more or something at the Emerson School, and you went and got it. Where did you go get it?
Oh, it was only $175,000, the state land bank. So the state land bank had a little bit of extra money just in case of things like this. So I was early asking, if I would have asked at the end of the year or in the middle of next year, they might not have had that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Spitz.
I just have a generic question on the 2 GM homes that were, let's say, modified to be structurally integrated.
Yeah.
Structure integrated. Is there an evaluation done before that money is spent to, if it's better to bulldoze than to? Because if you're talking foundation, you're talking other things, you're talking.
Yes, for sure. So there were actually 3 houses. So originally, we had 3 houses that we were hoping to do the stabilization on. One was determined with our structural engineer that we worked with, that we opened the door and things fell. So at that point, it didn't make sense at all. So we demolished that one and we combined that with the next door lot. Yeah. I think the conversation is a lot different when it's not a historically designated neighborhood, right? So if it was just in, I don't know, like a 1950s bungalow that was falling apart, that's different than a, 1890 house that's been there forever. They weren't in great shape, that's why they were left. And I think part of my job is to make sure, places have gotten in trouble because of speculation, right? And those houses changed hands probably 6 times, went through foreclosure 6 times. So it's, I don't know, I could have sold them to 10 other people.
Mhm.
I sat on them and waited and I think got lucky with this funding. It probably would have been cheaper to bulldoze them, but I also am a city planner by training. So I understand when you have demolished houses on a block, that also creates not the best looking block for people, right? These cities were built for density. Could somebody have built a new house that looked kind of like that? Maybe. But there's something really cool to me about having a 100-year-old property that nobody's cared about for so long now have a new life. And it looks just like it did, when it was built.
Fair.
Any other questions? Thank you. We really
welcome.
appreciate the presentation
Thank you.
and look forward to hearing more good things from.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And that appointment is on our agenda today, so
Oh, is it?
I don't know that we'll be making an appointment today.
Oh, are there gonna be
Our discussion.
interviews?
Yes.
Is that happening today? Okay. Should I stay?
We have to decide how we're gonna go.
Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah,
stay.
so. Don't get the cart ahead of the horse. Okay, we haven't heard from Jim?
I didn't get a response back from him. He confirmed initially, so, but
So with your consent, we'll just need a motion to receive and file the report from the Land Bank Authority. Commissioner Taylor moves, Commissioner Lubes supports. Should we prompt that vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, it's prompted anyways.
Sorry.
There we go, excellent.
good test.
Good job.
Six
That was a quick
yeses,
prompt.
0 nays.
Perfect. Okay,
Madam
so, yes, Commissioner Christensen.
Yeah, I just noticed that we're having the interviews,
Yes.
but Human Resources is after the interviews. I'm just thinking it would have been better to have Human Resources present, so they didn't have to sit through 7 interviews. I don't know if it's too late to change that since we have
Make a motion.
appointments. Pardon me?
Make a motion.
Make that
Well,
motion.
but we have people that are waiting for the interviews now?
I don't think those two will take that long.
Start at 9:30.
Well, okay, then I'm gonna make a motion to move up Human Resources and do the interviews after.
Support?
Moved by Commissioner Christensen, supported by Commissioner Taylor to amend the agenda to go to what's currently number 9, Human Resources Department recommendations before we do number 8, which is interviews. Accurate? Okay, should we do voice vote or should we prompt that vote? We have a motion?
Second?
Yes, yes. Commissioner Gershenson moved and Commissioner Taylor seconded.
Yep. Should we either prompt or do voice vote?
Well, let me put it this way, any discussion about it first? Why don't we just do a voice vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great, perfect. All right, so Human Resource Department recommendations is our next item on the agenda.
Good morning, should I sit here?
Please.
Good morning. So I'm back before you. I'm Melva Allen from Human Resources. A few months ago, I presented some proposed changes to our tuition reimbursement merit rule, in which we had discussion and we made some changes and it was approved.
So I'm gonna interrupt you for a minute because I was just reminded that we did not move to have this item discussed yet. So Commissioner Spiz, you moved to 9A, adopt amendments to Merit System Rule 20 and changes to educational system benefits, supported by Commissioner Taylor.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay. So a few months ago, we made some changes and it was approved. And what we did is we actually published that news in the Telegraph to just allow employees to know what was coming. And from that post, we received a lot of feedback. Employees were concerned. We had a lot of questions about the clawback policy. There was some confusion with that. And so because of that, we connected with our Oakland 80 team, which we have Rana here representing Oakland 80, and they do an amazing job in working with Oakland County residents in attaining post-secondary education or credentials by 2030. So they have a ton of resources and navigators and wraparound services, and they also provide tuition assistance. And so in consulting with them about the clawback policy, they just brought to our attention the inequities that it might cause, particularly for some of our lower wage earning employees. Because if we have this clawback policy, and let's say they do receive an offer, they may not have the capacity to pay it back, opposed to a higher wage earner who may have that ability to do so. So that creates some inequities. And then there was confusion because we don't have a clawback policy on our tuition reimbursement, and it was just for the tuition advancement only. And so looking at our turnover rates, which is below 10%, we know that there's a chance that we may lose some, we may win some, but we know that expanding this policy, that is going to attract highly talented people to the county, and I think it's gonna actually be more of a benefit than a hindrance. So what we have presented before you is just the same revision without the clawback policy, with hopes that we can have that passed today.
Thank you. Commissioner Spitz.
If I read it correctly also, isn't it a request to increase the amount to 5250?
Yes, that was a previously approved,
Okay.
yeah.
And just the way it was written, it was going from that to that. And my other question is, somewhere in the policy, it doesn't mention the 5250, it says the board of commissioners controls it. Where do we list that number?
I saw it in there.
Resolution.
It's in the resolution, but it's not in the policy.
Oh, I see, in the other page, yeah.
And the policy is silent on the amount.
Right, it just says board of commissioners, so we just do by resolution, is that how we manage it? And it's just,
Yes, that's correct.
okay,
We don't put the dollar amount in the resolution just because if there's a change, it's just more of an easier process to make the change via resolution.
fair, okay, thank you.
Commissioner Taylor.
I did review this and I do wanna say thank you for all your time. The whole department, I bugged them really. And they really sat down with me and went through it, and I like everything that we discussed. We talked thoroughly, and I agree with what they're presenting here. So I just wanted to add that they really took the time. They heard our concerns, they heard me, took the time to review all of this, and I'm comfortable with what they're presenting here today.
Any other questions or discussion? Right, with that, we'll prompt the vote. Sorry, I got that. Commissioner Johnson's on the call. I didn't ask him specifically if he had any comments or discussions. Hearing none.
Taylor?
Yes.
Good morning. I apologize. Keep forgetting you're on the call. Did you have any, I mean, we've already voted, so.
No, and that's totally fine. No, I have no structural comments. I guess my only comment is about the process by which this happened, just so that everyone kind of is aware on what happened. So we did pass it out of committee, if you'll remember, the first time. So that policy is still sitting technically on the full board floor, and then this is a brand new item with the change that we're going to pass again. That's cool. I just wanted to say for the department and just kind of for us moving forward, I feel like that is procedurally a bit messy, and I would prefer to just change existing items moving forward, substituting out on the full board floor. But I appreciate that it needed to come back here for additional discussion. That's my only comment. I just think it's a little bit messy to kind of run two different of the same thing, but yes.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. There was confusion in my mind when I saw this come up on the agenda. I thought, didn't we already vote on this? And we sort of did, even though this is technically a new item. So I guess my question would be, do we need to take any action to withdraw somehow the other item?
No, so what will happen, since the other item will never go to the board, it'll just fall out, it'll die at the end of the year.
Okay,
And so
got it. So
this is basically replacing it.
got it. Okay. All right, thank you for bringing that up, Commissioner Johnson.
You had 6 yeses and 0 nays.
Thank you. Okay. So, next item is.
So motion passes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, motion passes. Still figuring this out. Okay. So 9B. Commissioner Spiz moves 9B, which is exempting Oakland County government from Public Act 152 of 2011 for calendar year 2025, seconded by Commissioner Taylor.
Good
morning.
Good morning. Thank you for putting this on the agenda today. Public Act 152 sets a maximum amount or hard cap that a public employer can contribute to its employee medical benefit plans, limiting the employer to no more than 80% cost share of those benefits. But it also has a stipulation that allows public sector employees to exempt themselves from that hard cap and the cost share. And we are bringing forward a recommendation. This will be the 13th year that we've requested and you've adopted, hopefully, the exemption from Public Act 152, which will give us the flexibility on being able to structure our benefit programs and keeping the cost down for our employees.
Any questions, comments? Commissioner Johnson, did you have anything you wanted to say? Now that I'm remembering you're on the call.
Oh, all good on this one.
I thought you might.
Oh, he's good.
Oh, you're good?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. It's a regular thing that we do. I
Okay,
don't remember it last year.
okay, great. All right, so let's prompt the vote.
You have 6 yeses, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, so that
Madam
takes
Chair?
care- Yes.
I just want to comment before Heather leaves. My husband had an out-of-network procedure in February that was $3,000 out of pocket. And I was so excited to join the Blue Cross network last year. However, they proceeded to torture me from February to very recently to get reimbursed. I must have sent them, I should have brought my packet. It was like this big of papers I had sent them. Finally, I just really was close to giving up and I called Heather to the rescue and we were reimbursed. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
We were able to get that worked out.
Finally happened.
Yeah. It's it helps to have quality, committed HR professionals, and I appreciate it. Okay, all right, so going back to our, was item 8, the interviews. Somebody wanna, do we need to have a motion for this?
No, not until you know.
I didn't think so, okay. All right, so,
Okay, well now.
first interviewee is Yul Johnson.
You can step to the end of the table.
Take a seat at the end of the table, please.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for your patience. We allot approximately 7 minutes for these, so we would like to begin, if you wanna take a minute or two to introduce yourself and tell us why you're interested in this position.
Sure, I'd be glad to. My name is Yul Johnson. I'm interested in this position, well, let me tell you about myself. I'm currently a state of Michigan employee. I've 32 years with the state of Michigan. I came in MDOT, the Department of Transportation. I ended up at DHS, Assistance Payments Workers, FIS worker, transferred over to Office of Child Support, whereas I was a child support specialist and now child support manager. Been doing that for about 20 years now. I'm interested in this position. I've always been interested in area agency on aging. I see that you're in the middle of a rebranding process. You're now Ageways. I know as a specialist, helping people, I know we always reached out trying to get more information about the program, trying to share it with the seniors and whatnot. I'm looking for an opportunity to be a part of something where maybe I can get a better understanding of what's going on with the agency, services available, and maybe how I can help some of my senior community, get some of that information. I'm just interested in overall in the program.
Thank you. Commissioners have questions. Commissioner Loops.
Do you work with the senior population now?
No, now I work as an Office of Child Support managed staff, and what we're doing is establishing child support orders. So anytime that someone comes in, you apply for assistance and you're getting certain types of assistance, then you're required or mandated to go through child support. And what our department does is we interview with custodial parties, identify the absent parties, locate absent parties, put all the casework together and send the referrals to the courts, for all 83 counties.
Thank you.
Commissioner Spiz.
Yeah, the board currently meets on Fridays every other month in the morning. Is that an issue for you, or can you make those?
Nope, that would be great. Actually, my schedule, I work a half day on Fridays, and that was one of my main questions to ask you guys, as far as like what would be expected, time frames, whereas I need to be available for meetings, discussions and whatnot. So that answers one of my questions, so I appreciate that. But Fridays is no problem.
Good to hear. I think there's other activities that happen outside of that meeting on occasion.
I'm sorry?
There's other activities that happen outside of the regular meetings, but
Okay.
it's,
And that's, can I ask a question now? Let me ask you, like, these other activities, do they usually happen during the workday or then after work, or are the blend of both, or is it?
Commissioner Loops.
There are committees under the Ageways Board of Directors that you may be interested in volunteering for, and the committee members determine when they're going to meet. So
Okay,
some are during the day and some are early evening.
okay, so each committee would have their own charter and agendas or items that they're working on. Okay, well, I have availability like that. Like I said, I have a long time employed. I have quite a considerable amount of leave time available. So, and currently a work from home employee as well. So I had to dress up today for a while. Yeah, we've been home for 10 years before the pandemic. We had transitioned to at home workforce. Yeah.
Interesting.
Commissioner Taylor.
Question, I see that you didn't list any references. Would you care to tell us
I
one or two?
probably overlooked it, when I seen the announcement for the position, I was up on Facebook. so I applied for it now. So my sister, a couple other people about it, but yeah, I have no problem giving you references. I give you professional references, personal references, anything you need. So that was my fault. I neglected. I apologize.
That's okay. It happens, just one or two, whoever you want. I just wanted a name, could we just see?
I can give you a name. My sister, Edith Boswell. I'll give you my manager, Sean Bodell.
We're not calling anybody or anything, you don't have to worry about that.
I'm not worried about it. I handle myself accordingly.
Thank you.
That's
all.
Any other questions? Right. Well, we thank you. Just so you know how this is gonna work, we will likely be voting on someone this morning, and we will let you know what the results are.
Okay. Whether you're gonna let all candidates know?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
Well, actually, they don't get informed till after the board meeting, is that correct?
That's correct. I'm sorry. Not after this meeting. After, it will go to,
Okay.
goes from this meeting to the full board,
Okay.
which will be next Thursday.
The 10th.
Yeah. So it'll be sometime after the 10th that you'll be notified.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you.
I was waiting for your question.
oh,
What would you like to do for fun?
Okay, next up is Charles Tyrell.
Just take a seat at the end of the table.
As we get ready to migrate.
Good morning.
Morning.
So we've allotted approximately 7 minutes for our interview process. And if you would like to begin, to take a minute or two to introduce yourself and tell us why you're interested in this position.
Okay. I've been out of work for a while, which kind of was fortunate. My daughter has been ill for several years, and I've been a primary caretaker just because I was available for that. I like to call myself a serial volunteer.
Thank you.
I've been involved in a lot of volunteer activities over the years. More than 25 years on the city tree board, master gardener for 20-some years. Also served on board of directors of credit union, board of directors of a professional organization back when I was working. So I get involved in a lot of those things. Amateur radio now. I administer ham radio testing or license testing. I'm currently in the top 10 worldwide in terms of number of sessions that I've done. So this is another opportunity, and this is probably back more towards my wheelhouse, and this is, yeah, I guess I am kind of fitting into the demographic of who you're trying to serve.
Thank you. Commissioner Gershenson.
So are you familiar with the work of Ageways?
I was confused by the name.
Which they changed.
Right, and that's, I guess, where my confusion came through. So I'm not as familiar with it as I think I would like.
So are you familiar with Area Agency on Aging?
A little bit, yes.
Okay, so that's the same organization,
Okay.
okay? And so what do you think you could contribute with your background? What do you think you could contribute to the board?
Well, is the board advisory or is it policy?
Annie?
It's a policy
It's a policy board?
that directs the actions
Okay.
of,
I've
Governs
worked,
the agency, correct?
yes.
I'm sorry?
It's the governing body for the agency,
Okay.
formerly known as Area Agency.
So then there's staff then that reports to the board?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's what I did at the credit union. Credit unions are nonprofit, but we still had to make a profit to stay in business kind of thing. But we were all volunteers on the board. We directed policy through the then CEO and got the work done of the organization. We set the policies and then we oversaw how it was implemented. And not just through financial documents, but how did this actually get implemented? How are we doing with this and that and the other thing? So we tried to put some measures into place. I have a background in process improvement and lean, and they didn't understand how that could be adapted to a service organization, to a financial organization, but it can be. It's actually pretty easy to do. Everybody says lean manufacturing. No, lean is beyond just manufacturing. So we can employ, there must be processes in place. There must be a process in place to improve the processes. And you could take lean and use that as a stepping stone in terms of process control, and process improvement. And I'm real strong in that area.
Thank you.
Commissioner Taylor.
I also noticed that you didn't list any references. Did you just miss that, or do you want to name somebody now, or?
I could supply some references if you were to choose. I mean, what kind of references? I mean, I've been out of that circulation for so long in terms of professional.
Mm-hmm.
My last employer no longer exists.
Mm-hmm.
The employer before that no longer exists. So, in terms of professional,
Professional or
References.
personal, we're not gonna, we
Yeah.
just wanna see,
Sure.
that's all.
Yeah, I can come up with some names.
Okay,
Who,
thank
who should I direct that to?
Staff,
Staff.
but thank you.
smiling faces.
Same person you sent your application into.
It's me, Tracy Stolzenfeld.
Tracy? Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The meetings are every other month, Friday mornings.
Okay.
Would that be an issue with you? I know based on your description, I didn't think so, but I wanted to
No.
ask.
No, that Friday mornings could work out.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Any other questions? Right, so understand how the process works. We will likely be voting on a candidate today to recommend to the full board. Full board will be meeting next week, and that would be when the decision will be made.
Full board of commissioners?
Full board of commissioners, correct. So this will be going on, whatever we decide today goes on the agenda for the full board of commissioners next week. And once that decision is made, we will notify all the candidates as to the result.
How many people are on the board that I'm applying to?
About 12.
About 12. Okay,
You can look, I'm sure that information's available online
okay.
on their website.
Well, I didn't know if there was like just the one opening or there are multiple openings or.
Just one.
Just one
Okay,
currently, yeah.
okay.
Commissioner Johnson, did you have any?
He's gone.
Oh,
No, he's back.
he's back. That's why I didn't ask earlier, because I just saw that he looked and I saw that he was gone,
That's
so.
our chair,
You're on Zoom?
who's on Zoom.
One of our commissioners is absent, but he's joining us by Zoom.
Okay.
Did you have any questions?
No, regrettably, I've missed everything. My computer decided to do a full restart just now, so I just popped back on. But-
Okay, all right, so just, Commissioner Johnson, just chime in if you have, holler at me, so in case I forget him. So, okay, all right, well, we thank you for your time
Great,
and
thank you very much.
appreciate you being here.
So I need to go to meeting versus teams. Let's go to meeting versus teams.
Just send that to your email.
Yes.
Thank you.
Appreciate
It's
it.
easier for them to stream from GoToMeeting.
John Eric?
I just figured with Microsoft, I'm sure. we
Next
can.
up is John Eric.
Seated at the table, please.
Good morning.
Morning. Good to see you. We've allotted, excuse me, approximately 7 minutes for the interview. And how we typically do this is we give you a minute or two at the beginning to introduce yourself and tell us generally why you're interested in the position.
Okay. Actually got a crowd, so let's get going, okay? I'm a resident of West Bloomfield for the last 11 years. I've lived in Ferndale and Southfield in Oakland County. I have a master's degree in social work from the University of Michigan. I'm an elected Parks and Recreation Commissioner in West Bloomfield. We're in the process of, we just passed the $25,000 bonding, and we're gonna be expanding our main building primarily and fixing the other things in the parks. I'm secretary of the board. I'm a retired executive director of an agency that was called Community Services of Oakland that provided services in the southern part of Oakland County for a number of years. Actually, it started after the Great Depression, believe it or not, from volunteers in Pleasant Ridge and carried on. In that organization, we were serving about 7,000 cases a year. About 3,000 of those involved senior citizens in a variety of programs and services. We received funding from Area Agency on Aging for 18 years on shore service and outreach. And also in 1999, we were selected as the outstanding service provider for Area Agency on Aging that year. I've been on several boards in Oakland County over the years. It includes, just quickly, as president of the Sanctuary Runaway Shelter, I was one of the founders of the South Oakland Rotating Emergency Shelter. I was one of the founders of Oakland County Interdisciplinary Team on Child Abuse and Neglect. Those have morphed into other organizations now, like Care House for that one. I was also a member of the Heat and Warmth Fund, and I was running my own organization, had a 20-member volunteer board, so it was keeping everybody happy there. We had a variety of sources of funding. What happened to the agency is one of the last great downturns, United Way was the funder of our core dollars. And in the metropolitan area at that time, they were raising over 90 million a year and spreading it around to agencies. Then the downturn hit, and we were cut back to 8,000 a year. So the agency, we folded our tent. We shot some of our services over to Oakland Livingston Human Service Agency to carry on in our area, but we had to end up folding at that time. And that's pretty much what I have to say in a nutshell for you to start with.
Great, thank you. Questions? Commissioner Gershenson.
Welcome, John. I've known you for a long time, but I didn't know a lot of your history, so very interesting. So what exactly do you think you could contribute? You're familiar, obviously, with Area Agency on Aging, and so what do you think you could contribute to their board?
Well, I think I could bring all those experiences together and working with senior citizens especially. The things we used to do in shore services, I mean, we built ramps to get people in and out of their houses. We demolished garages that needed to go, that they had no way of getting those taken care of. Just a variety of things. In the south end of the county, it was a lot of lawn mowing and snow removal, especially a lot of small lots in that end of the county. It's different than from out here. So that took a lot of time. We had part-time people that were interested in doing that work. And I look at Ageways and some of the things going on now and saying there's more, we're gonna have more seniors, obviously. Talking about 1 in 5 is gonna be a senior citizen in the country soon. It's a large number. So I thought I could bring some of those experiences to bear and just try to move things forward in Oakland County. It's very dynamic county. The ethnicity is amazing when you get to it. We have one street in West Bloomfield, I swear we have every ethnic group on it that I could imagine. So there's a lot of that to deal with. We also did grandparents as parents groups, things like that. So I can certainly tell you what not to do. I'll learn the hard way. Other than that, I appreciate the opportunity to interview for this position, and I thought I'd take a stab at it.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I'm sorry, I do have a
Commissioner
question.
Spitz.
The agency meets, Ageways, I'm sorry, the Ageways meets every other month on a Friday morning. Is that a problem for you in any way?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, so how this works is we will likely be voting on a candidate to recommend to the full Board of Commissioners, who will be meeting next week on the 10th. And after the board makes its decision on who to put in this position, we will not inform all of the candidates and let you know what the decision is. Any questions?
No, thank you very much, and I know you got a lot to go through today. Good luck.
Thank you, John.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next up is Chris Moscone. Moscone? Oh,
I don't know.
he's probably right. anglicize that lovely Italian name.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you know the drill.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for coming. We allot approximately 7 minutes for this interview. And we like to begin by giving you a minute or two to introduce yourself and tell us why you're interested in this position.
All right, I'm Chris Moscone. I saw the information on Facebook and thought, this sounds like something I could do. But I don't know really what it entails, what the time commitment would be or anything like that. I'm at a point in my life where I have some extra time. I have been blessed with many things, and I'd like to, do something to help other people.
So I would actually begin by asking, are you familiar with Ageways, formerly known as?
Not too much. I've tried to do as much research as I can to find out everything that goes on in the county with regard to aging and all of that, but I really don't know too much about Ageways.
Questions? Commissioner Loops.
What kind of service work or volunteer work have you done with seniors?
Not anything with seniors, actually. I have worked with Humble Design, a wonderful organization, and another one that was called A Space to Dream, helping kids who have gone through trauma have a space of their own bedroom. I've volunteered with the schools, in the library, at the elementary school, that kind of thing. But I have had a lot of experiences in my advanced age. And I think I can, and I have a wide circle of friends through Bridge, through neighbors, through all of that. We've lived in Clarkston for about 26 years. So I have a wide circle.
Commissioner Spiz.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The board meets every other month on Friday mornings. Is that a problem for you in any way to make those meetings?
No, Fridays are good.
Fridays are good. Good answer. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All right, so did you have any other questions of us or?
Yeah, I just would like to know what you're looking for, what the position would entail, besides once every other month.
Commissioner Lubes, do you want to discuss what the board?
It's a board of directors. There are 12 people on the board, so they set policy, and the executive director manages to carry out those tasks by delegating to staff. So it's not only the board meetings, there are various committees that you may or may not elect to join that focus on certain areas of serving our senior population.
Well, I did tour the OPC facility in Rochester. Very impressive place.
Yes.
Wow. So I think it would be really interesting to take part, and I'm available.
Thank you.
Okay. So how this works is we will likely be voting on a candidate to recommend to the full Board of Commissioners. The full board will be meeting next week on the 10th, and at that time, they will likely make a decision on who to appoint to this position, and we will notify all of the candidates after the 10th on what our decision is.
Okay.
All right. Well, we thank you for your time.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice to see all you.
Next up is Edith Boswell. Okay.
Wasn't she the reference of you?
Mm-hmm.
His sister.
That name sounded familiar.
His sister. Reference.
Are you kidding?
Okay, come on in. Sit at the table, please.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
I brought some materials to hand out. How would you advise I do that? Can I just drop them off as I walk around or just
Sure.
because I've gone through the efforts of making them? Thank you.
Sure. I'll help you with that.
You'll do that?
Yeah.
Excellent. So these 2 pages are just references,
Okay,
but each of these with the color sheet on top relate to who I am and what I've done in this area of aging, something we're all seem to be experiencing every day. Is this the hot seat?
that's
Yep.
it.
It is.
And are you Joel?
I am Joel. This is like speed dating. I mean, anyway, which is something I haven't done.
Okay, so welcome, thank you for coming. How this will work is we've allotted approximately 7 minutes for the interview. And we typically begin by allowing you a minute or two to introduce yourself and tell us why you're interested in this position.
Well, that's why the handout is there. I'm primarily a industrial training developer, having worked in industry as well as public ed. I was with the Oakland Schools as a audio-visual instructor, but then shifted into administration because there was technology coming in and nobody knew how to use it. I ended up advancing blended learning in high school in 2004, which was way ahead of its time before COVID hit everything and everybody was now learning online. So I'm pretty much an innovator of applying technology to workforce development, where in the areas of looking for a place to live out one's life and flourish is where my interest has always been. As a result of becoming the caregiver for my parents, I recognize the gaps for those who cannot be available to your parents or have the lifestyle that they prepared for themselves aging in place, which really translates to wanting to die at home, is not what happens for most people. Institutionalization, I'm afraid, and the capitalistic impact on all of that, I believe, has really put aging in a difficult spot. So in my work, which is explained in my efforts there, I got in touch with people at Albert Kahn and Associates because this is an institutional, therefore building opportunity. And I ended up doing a lot of research in Canada, who with an overlying aspect of healthcare kind of provided, another discussion, at least people creating living situations were more flexible. So the opportunity of looking at what can be called collectivized living. We went in college at the time, we might have called them group homes or back to the earth or let's all get together, live in a house and go to school. And that model for people aging is really an option that is not promoted as well as it is supported in Canada. And I looked at all of those models that are co-housing based. Primarily, I see an opportunity for self-financed, self-directed adult aging, whether that ends up being an aspect of what they called in Canada the Golden Girls Act, which permitted zoning changes that allow adults to decide to live together and not have their neighbors say, "What are you doing? Why are all these cars here? You're old. Why are you my neighbor?" Well, because we've decided to get together and self-direct the way we choose to age. So I see that kind of a model as really being something that can be in addition to all of the other institutions that seem to be more profit-based, rent till you die, burn up your dollars, and then you're thrown on the dole. So there's really chances for innovation, and that's where I come from in an area of being an industrial trainer, looking at the gaps, looking at what needs to be educated to fill those gaps, look for a standard, apply that standard, and that can even be done on a, let's call it household by household basis, as people recognize that they don't want to be given at the age of 70, 80, and 90 an assigned table, an assigned time, a hall and a wall and a room, when you really lived your whole life to look at independence of action. So I really see there's a chance to conform to a different model that can be supported. And that's what I'm hopeful I can bring to this body. And hopefully some of those materials will allow that to occur. Again, I'm an educator. I'm involved in workforce development. I start with kids. I've worked through adults and industries. Aviation was my last one. Do not forego the realities of regulation. Be glad there's regulation in aviation because that metal is heavy, and if it's not maintained, it falls out of the sky. So that's where I think I can bring a lot of my skills to communication, to education. When it comes to looking at an aging community, we are not using our youth while they're in programs that educate them to look at where careers are to be able to satisfy what an elder population needs. Because we are getting older, we are living longer, we have not prepared for that at all, not with our savings, not with our government institutions of Medicare and Medicaid. We are in a tight spot. So if we don't get out in front of that, and we don't end up using our community resources wisely, not just promoting what's being paid for and due on a community level, but end up actually integrating systems that allow adults to be, again, self-directed as they can, self-financed, to be able to decide, oh, wow, I'm a 90-year-old woman next to an 80-year-old woman next to a 75-year-old woman, and we're all neighbors and we're all alone and we need help. Why couldn't they end up working with their community to create a senior enclave of those 3 pieces of property, look at their back lots as a chance of doing auxiliary housing, which is a big thing in Canada, because there are more people than there are housing. And these kinds of ideas that stretch our current framework is really what I think can support an aging population. Because what we most like to do, coming out of our independent single passenger vehicle consciousness, will give me a car and I can go anywhere alone, but I'm doing it alone. We are independent people and we like to maintain that as best we can. So I don't know if that's so much a description of who I am, probably. But certainly I think it's what needs to be designed for an aging community that ain't going anywhere fast. They're gonna hang out and they're gonna wanna flourish, and that needs to be the goal and objective.
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Gershenson.
Welcome.
Hi.
I did watch some of the tape that you sent.
Yes, I did that for a
And I
friend of
do
mine.
think it's a very interesting concept, and I had just toured another senior facility where it is much more standard and routine. It's a very interesting concept of this independent living. My question is to you, have you been on a board? Are you able to, you're obviously a leader, you have strong opinions. How do you function in a board setting with other leaders who also have strong opinions?
Well, I'm deaf in one ear. So what I do is I listen. It's what I have to do. I end up, luckily, I was a little concerned about the soft-spokenness of this room, but you're closest, so that's lucky for me. You end up needing to listen to every opinion in the room and then find your chance to come in. Any real dynamic organization that recognizes the strength and abilities of the people in the room, it's up to the chairperson to allow the dynamic of that group to work. So I basically, in a lot of ways, other than kibitzing a little bit, I wait to be spoken to and then participate. I am been a member of the Birmingham Wildlife, not Birmingham, Southfield Advisory Wildlife Commission, where we have a deer problem. They're the only predators they have are cars. They have a few coyotes that take down, and you gotta clean up the deer that are lying in your backyard. But those are beautiful herons, my goodness. Anyway, I'm sorry, it's the wildlife thing in me, I just can't let that kind of a thing go by without bringing your attention to the wildlife. That is amazing. So no, in a board situation, you gotta allow the dynamics of the people that have been chosen to work together.
Thank you.
Commissioner Spitz?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The board meets every other month on Friday mornings. Is that an issue for you in any way?
No, Friday evening would have been a problem, Friday morning's fine.
Okay, good to hear, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so how this process will work is that we will likely be voting on a candidate to recommend to the full Board of Commissioners. We'll be meeting next week on Thursday, the 10th. And at that time, the board will likely make a decision on who to be appointed to the board. And we will notify all the candidates of the result of that vote.
Thank you. That was the only question?
You did a nice
That's a lot
job
of
encompassing all of the questions in your bio.
Well, thank you very much for letting me pass out materials. The color thing is basically my operation of an independent person in the world that I live in to create, training and other communications. The other document is pretty much what I did with Albert Kahn as we advanced into this. And there are so many delightful models. You're all aware of PACE. You're all aware of the greenhouse model that basically is a more institutional plan of the household concept, but it's pretty much a redesign of nursing homes. You should really, if you haven't checked out PACE and the greenhouse model that they end up having downtown off of Jefferson, that basically breaks the walls and hall concept into a singular living area of about 12 independent rooms with a commons, with a much smaller, multi-faceted staff to take care of elders. There are delightful models and situations all around that really need to be promoted. And again, workforce development, we got youth coming up. I'll tell you, they're taking care of old people. Right now, they got the money. At least some of them do. So that's what we really need to do, is to integrate our human resources to work with each other.
Thank you, we
Thank
appreciate
you for
your time.
allowing me to fill this morning
Thank you.
and hand out stuff.
Yes.
Thanks.
And thank you for watching the video. That does not happen. People don't do that.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that we did pass money to, I believe it was Presbyterian Village,
Yes.
who does that greenhouse model. And I have toured the Detroit facility. It's impressive. It is a step in this independent yet joint living concept.
And it ends up taking the caregiver role, which is again within the Holes and Walls institution, and make it more multifaceted for the caregiver. And that creates a stronger relationship between the elder, because basically those facilities, you're on the way out. So how do you bring comfort and resolution to people who still feel that they are active in their own life and in their passing?
Yeah.
Okay, that's really what this is about. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're so lucky to have these guys out there. I would spend a moment and just focus on it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our last candidate, I'm assuming, did Edith show up?
Yeah, she did.
Oh, okay, so let's go back to Edith Boswell.
You make me crazy.
I'm a resident of Troy, Michigan, and I've lived in Oakland County most of my adult years from Detroit. And my job has been helping people who are in situations that are less fortunate for everybody else. In other words, I started my career with Ford Motor Company working in systems and left there, started teaching in Detroit at a parenting and pregnant school, high school for girls. I learned a lot there. I learned a lot about the girls, and being a clinical psychologist, I was able to do and work and see things that people could see from a different light and understand the experiences that these girls had made or had been involved in, and just to see the hope. And growing up, going to Catholic school, nuns were my mentors. So I learned a lot about them, and I understood, or I tried to understand, the compassion that they had when they were teaching or even just interacting with us as children. There was a lot to learn, and I've learned a lot because I like people, and I like to help people, and I like to be a light of hope when there is no hope. And I retired from the Michigan State Board, Michigan Corrections. So I worked in the prison system from the UP all the way down to Detroit. I started in the Upper Peninsula at IRF, which is one of the worst prisons in the state, a higher level convicts. So there was a lot to learn about that, and even going into that environment and learning how to be compassionate, how to be able to be non-judgmental, especially when it's concerning other people that I may not believe in what they did or what they do, but just to have an open mind to understand that they are people just like everybody else. They just made different mistakes. And the other thing, you know what, when I got my master's in clinical psychology, I worked with the Neighborhood Services Organization. And so I was working with the older generation and the nursing homes. And it was so cute because I had 5 little ladies that needed to have count therapy. And I didn't know any of them, but we formed a bond because these ladies were all 5 were unique individuals. And they had their special ways of doing things. And so we formed a bond, created a little group where we became a coffee or tea group. And so they would look for me every week to come and we talk about things. And one little cute lady, she had talked about, I think she was suffering, she got diagnosed with schizophrenia, but she stated she was part of being a Rosie the Riveter. So she worked during the war. Were in the machine in the factories. And so she would talk about that and just talk about things that she liked and things that were important to her. But then I think I applied for this job because both of my parents are deceased and they both went into hospice. But then I had the experience of being the caregiver. I've got 5 siblings. And so we all took turns taking care of my mom and my dad. And just being able to allow people to die with hope and to die with dignity. And being able to let people express who they are, what they want to do, and how they want to do things, and not interfere with what they want to do, but try to help accommodate what they want, what their wishes are. So just going through that experience helped me to understand the trust and just being open and honest and taking time and the respect of other people as they're going through different phases of their lives. And the other thing I encountered was when I was working in the prison system, there was an inmate who had been in prison for 30 years, but he was placed into hospice because he became terminally ill. But the scary part was what's going to happen to this man. He was allowed to leave prison, but he had to go into a hospice outside of the prison system. And he had no idea was out there waiting for him, but he was just being placed wherever somebody would accept him to live out the rest of his life. And I thought that that was kind of different, a little special in the sense that I would be afraid. And just being able to accommodate and understand other people's fears and be empathetic enough to say, well, what can we do? What can I do to help you to do something good or something better? And also working in a nursing home, person-centered planning, I had to develop a plan for this resident who could not leave the nursing home because of his illness. So we did a person-centered plan for him, and it was he wanted to go to a Tigers game. But all of his friends were as old as he was, and so they didn't have the transportation, they didn't have the means. So he had to plan a setup where he was had a baseball get-together. So they came to the nursing home, his friends, they watched it on television, and they were able to have their regalia on and all the things for the Lions, and he had his party at the nursing home. But that was one of his things he wanted to do. So it's like when you tell me that you want to do something a certain way, I need to help you find a way to get it done. And that's what I do. If I can help you to be happy, to be hopeful, to understand that, yeah, life changed, but we've got to figure out how am I going to adjust to this new situation that I'm in? Because I'm in that group. I'm the tail end of the baby boomers. So we think a certain way, and I just retired, and I've been looking for something to do. But it was a little different because, you know, you're so accustomed to working, and you see what other people see when you don't have the pressures of a job, and just freedom. That's what I feel, free. And so I like helping people. I really do. And I started as a young girl to be able to like and help people. When the nuns told me, yeah, you got to trick or treat for UNICEF. Okay. All right, so I've been doing that my whole lifetime. And so it just brings me back to center myself spiritually and to understand that I am just one person and I cannot dictate what someone else do. I can help you understand what it is that you're trying to do, but I can't make you do things. And I think we need to understand people a little bit better and understand that everybody's not mad. There's a reason why people act the way that they do. And you don't know what happened at the house before they left home. Like this morning. And you don't know what their backstory is. But to be able to learn and find out what happened to you. All right? And that gives us, as your caregiver, a better insight into what I'm working with and what I need to understand about you. And I
We're
have
gonna open this up for questions now so that we have time so the commissioners can ask you questions. Sorry to cut you off.
It's okay.
Who has questions? Commissioner Lewis.
I don't have a question, but I want to say as a social worker and you're a psychologist, our philosophies mirror the same, and the words I heard coming out of your mouth are words that I've spouted many times.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for coming out today. I heard you say you're retired, which is good to hear. This board meets on Fridays every other month in the morning.
Mhm.
Will that be an issue for you in any way?
No, I'm free.
I wanted
Feel free.
to confirm. Have to confirm. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so how the process works is we will likely be recommending a candidate to the full Board of Commissioners. That meeting will take place, Board of Commissioners meeting will take place next week on the 10th, at which time the commissioners will likely vote to appoint somebody to this position. And after that vote, we will contact all of the candidates and let them know what the result was.
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah.
Okay.
And thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to meet with you guys.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So you get a certain age and you start planning. I planned it for this for a week ago and still got lost this morning. You know what I mean? Riding around Pontiac. But I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. And then our last candidate is Mark Kelly.
Hey,
You're up.
how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, what's your name?
I'm Tracy.
Tracy.
Those are sandhill cranes, I stand corrected. It's amazing that they're here. Sandhill cranes.
Yes.
First time.
Seat at the end of the table.
Morning, everybody.
Good
morning.
I've never
Hey.
seen herons here, but they look like herons.
At the end of the table.
Oh.
But we could get this back further, couldn't we? Nice to see everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Thank you for coming.
Hi, Penny.
So hi Mark, how this process is gonna work is we have approximately 7 minutes for the interview. And we'd like to begin by having you introduce yourself and tell us why you're interested in this position.
Okay, well, my name is Mark Kelly. I'm interested in this position because of my commissioner, Penny Lubes, who asked me to look into this because she thought I could do a great job. So I've been on the Oakland County Senior Advisory Council for, I don't know, maybe 8 years, 10 years. Can't remember, so it's a senior moment. That's a joke. And so what we do on the Oakland County Senior Advisory Council, so in my district, I have 3 senior centers where I go in, ask questions, try to help out with stuff. Especially when the grants came out, I called the mayors of each town, let them know what I had been told in reference with what the county was doing, that there was services, I can't remember his name, I think it was Ken, where they could contact and get help with writing what they needed to do for the grants. Also letting them know that there was some Zoom classes that were online. So I called the mayors and then I also called the people that were running the different senior centers to let them know what was going on. In our council, so we all get together, we've got members in every district, as you probably already know. And we get together for once a month and we meet for 2 hours. We don't get any free food from the county. I'm like, come on, can't we at least have breakfast? And so we talk about different things. And then the thing is since I'm kind of interactive also from a business standpoint, because I've got Senior Planning Services of Michigan, I also run Medicare of Michigan. So I get involved with different areas. And one of the funny thing is, so my district bumps into 2 other districts. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow, within 5 to 15 minutes of my front door, there's 6 senior centers. And I've asked the different members, have you guys ever gotten together before? And they said no. So I thought, okay, well, how about if I organize something? And they said, great, do it. So I organized something and I also let the other people know in my other districts what I was doing. And then I also invited Jim Ellison to come in. He's Chief of Senior Services. And this was just to get everybody together to chit chat. There wasn't any set schedule or anything, but just to talk about what are you doing, what do you need help with? And I just sat there as an observer as well as Jim Ellison. And part of it was just to sit there and learn and find out what they want to do. And so I thought that was pretty constructive, and I thought, wouldn't it be great if we did something from a county level where we had all the members, all the people that ran the different centers come in and talk. And then it's interesting too, I go to the Friends of Troy Seniors, they have a meeting every month. To me, they're really kind of pretty core with doing senior activities for the city of Troy. I actually went in front of city council and said, you really need to sponsor these guys and give them money, because with to replace Bill Rose and his team, you'd spend $150,000 a year just trying to replace them. That's how key they are. They've got 1,200 members in their system. And they've been turning that around, so I'm pretty excited about that. And Lindsay Ramsey, who's been hired by the Troy Community Center, has been very active. And I thought it was also interesting that they put up a sign, this was a few years ago because of complaints from the seniors, senior entrance on the north side. And they're actually gonna put that up on the north side, on the top side. And they're really coming back to it. And I learned about some of that process through Renee Cartwright, who runs the OPC. She told me what Troy was 15 years ago with their senior programs. She got a lot of her best ideas from them. And Troy had kind of diminished that, but they're bringing that back. And then Lisa Ball does a great job with Clausen, as well as Yvonne with the Royal Oak. Unfortunately, Clausen missed the grant, which is too bad because they could have really used it for their facility. And they've got a big chunk of land in the back they could actually add on as far as building material. Lisa was telling me about that. So those are just some of the things that I've done in my interactions, and I can go on for another hour or two if you guys want. It's real easy for me.
So I'm gonna open it up for questions for the commissioners. Who has a question?
I'll ask my comment question.
Sure.
The board meets every other month, Friday mornings. Is that a problem for you in any way?
No, sir.
Okay, good to hear. Thank you.
Hi, Mark. I wanted to say that you spoke about the Troy Friends of the Seniors in detail. So I don't know if everyone else is familiar with it, but the major complaint from the Troy seniors is there was not a sign at their entrance that Mark was instrumental in obtaining. The second major complaint is about their food, lunch food, but so
Yes,
I
what
think
agency
Mark
does
does
the
see a
lunch?
problem and work towards solutions for that. And your world is working with seniors as we all age.
Yeah, there's an agency that does that food.
I could comment more on that if you like.
No,
You want-
Off the record.
Any other questions? Okay, so how this is gonna work is we will likely be voting on a candidate to recommend to the full Board of Commissioners. We'll be meeting next week. And so it'll be on the agenda for the Board of Commissioners on the 10th. And after the Board of Commissioners makes its decision on who they're gonna appoint, we'll notify all the candidates of the decision.
Right.
Any other questions, concerns? Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks,
I really
guys.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
No, my pleasure. Glad to help out. I thought this was gonna be really grueling, so you guys are really nice about it.
We're not so mean.
Not today.
Not today, at least.
Have a super day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, see ya.
Trace, it's nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Okay.
Take care.
Absolutely.
Okay, so with that, we are through with our interviews. I guess the next is, does somebody wanna make a motion to recommend someone? Commissioner Loops.
I'll start. I would recommend Mark Kelly, remove Mark Kelly.
Not surprised by that.
Yeah. Commissioner Gershenson.
I'm gonna recommend John Eric.
Commissioner Nelson.
You know, I gotta say, we heard from some really great people today. I'm torn between recommending Edith and Joel. But I think I'm gonna move forward at this time with Edith.
Right. Is anyone supporting any of those?
So since you have the nominations, you could take one at a time.
Okay, so we don't
Each
need a,
one as they were nominated.
we don't need to make a formal motion and second on
Once you have
that.
once you have a majority, then
Okay,
you have your person.
Madam Chair, can I just ask a question?
Sure.
So I know sometimes when we've done interviews for various boards, we like to take a look at the makeup of the board and making sure that, you know, we have individuals that are pretty scattered across the county to have a representation of our county as a whole. Has there been any consideration on taking a look at the other city, villages, and townships that other members fall on in comparison to the city, villages, and townships that the individuals that we interviewed reside in?
I can answer that because Ageways is not simply an Oakland County entity.
Sure.
So a lot of the people are from Macomb, Washtenaw, not just Oakland County.
There's 6 counties.
Oakland County has just a couple of people from
Do you
Oakland
feel
County.
with the experiences that you have on with that board of directors that there's a good representation of Oakland County folks in regards to where they fall at in the county, from south to north?
There were probably 3 of us from Oakland County.
Okay, just want to bring that up. I know that's something that we've considered in the past, but thank you.
Okay, does anyone have any questions, comments on any of the 3 nominees? So, what should we vote on them in the order of their nomination? Does that make sense?
That's what Robert's rules says.
Okay, all right, thank you. I am definitely far from an expert on Robert's rules.
I am the names.
Okay.
Wait a second.
Do we need to have it seconded, to any of these nominations seconded?
Yeah, so typically what you would do is you would take the first name and then you would ask for the motion and second, and then
Make
take a vote.
describe.
Okay,
Once you have a
so
majority, then
Commissioner Lubes, I'm assuming that you moved to nominate Mark
Yes.
Kelly,
I'll support.
and Commissioner Spiz supports that. Okay, so we'll just do a prompted vote.
How many votes do we need to pass?
Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, that's a good question.
How many votes do we need to pass?
Kirshenson?
No.
There was 6 of us.
3 yeses and 3 nos.
Okay, nice tie. Is that,
That's a fail.
that's a fail, okay.
So we need
so
4?
fail.
You need 4.
So
Okay.
it's the majority of the commissioners present?
Yes. So Commissioner Gershenson, I assume you move for John Eric to be nominated?
Correct.
Okay, somebody, Commissioner Taylor seconds that? All right, should prompt that vote.
I think the second one was.
No, Mark Kelly was first, and then John Eric.
I'm sorry,
and then-
who was the second?
John Eric.
No, who seconded?
Let me tell you.
Commissioner Taylor second.
You had a new motion, right?
But it's not letting me. I didn't get it. Okay. Okay, we'll do a voice vote. Lubes,
No.
Nelson,
No?
Taylor,
Yes.
Spiz,
Yes.
Gershenson,
Yes.
Erickson Galt.
Yes.
All right, you have 4 yeses, 0 nos. 4 yeses, 2 nos.
Okay, so that passes. So we are nominating or recommending.
Yes.
That's correct terminology. Recommending to the board, John Eric.
What about Edith?
Oh, do we vote on all 3?
Is that null and
Now that you
void?
have a majority vote on the selection, then, and you go in the order of nominations, so the other ones are not considered.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we're done with that. And our last item on the agenda is appointment, number 10A, appointment to the Oakland County Land Bank Authority. I'm gonna take a little executive privilege here and recommend that we follow our normal procedure. Did you have, I'll let.
I agree with what you're going to say, but I also wanted to comment, were all the applications of a city official?
It was
All but one, I believe.
Yeah.
I thought I saw some that were not, but.
Do you mean city official, they have to be elected official or
Yeah,
city manager in that?
What are the rules? It has to be
It says an official.
a city official.
Right, but
City
that
or
doesn't
village
have to be
official.
elected.
Right.
I pulled the bylaws real quick.
Oh, thank you.
It's for one township official, so it can be a village or township, from a township located in Oakland County, appointed by the Board of Commissioners, must have experience with economic development, housing, planning, or real estate. I think I looked through the applications, there might be some folks that are not township or village representatives.
I thought there was more than one.
Yeah.
I was
So it
thinking
looks-
maybe three.
Yeah, I
It looks
looked
like there
through,
was one person who is not,
somebody from Royal Oak maybe,
yeah.
and Lathrop, maybe that's the same guy, Lathrop
Also,
Village.
there was one from Water Resources that applied.
Are they allowed to?
But she's the
do
president of the village of
Yeah,
Oxford.
She's the president of the
oh,
village.
that's right.
Oh, Kelsey.
So we have 6 applications and it appears that
Okay.
all of them
I'm
are a
biased.
township or village official other than one.
Well, for sure, I mean, I don't know, one's a trustee.
That's
That's
official.
fine.
That's an
okay.
official,
That's
it's,
fine.
and then it's not clear just from this list, cause I'm just looking at names, if they meet the other qualifications of having economic development, housing, planning, or real estate experience. So keep in mind that that's also a requirement of the position.
Or is it a requirement or a recommendation?
Required.
Says shall.
So it's one township, one township official.
Archaic legal language, shall means
Official,
must.
I know, I
Represents.
debate with legal all the time.
That's why,
Pam, you could go
Try
through
your
the
vote, shall.
applications again and see who
right,
doesn't
We can do that
qualify
after.
and then
Yeah,
just
we
set
can
up
do that
interviews.
after, and
I'll
if you wanna provide your input, that
Yeah,
would be
for sure.
great too.
Yep.
Okay.
so thank you
Then
for
interview the rest.
bringing that up, Commissioner Lubes, I think that's an important point. And then what I was going to suggest is that we take our normal procedure, which is to schedule them all for interviews at a future meeting.
Yeah.
Is everybody, is there consensus on that? Okay,
October 15th is our next meeting.
okay, that works.
Okay.
All right,
No
any,
timeliness to fill in it? No criticality to fill in?
No, we have our next board meeting in November, so.
Okay.
so we don't need a motion on this at this time, correct? We're just going to schedule interviews on October 15th. All right,
You can if you want, but I mean, consensus is that
right.
you wanna interview, there's no objections.
The motion will be for actual nominations at the meeting on the 15th. Okay, excellent. Any further questions or concerns about this item? Okay, our next item is public comment for anything under the sun. Is there anyone here from the public that wants to comment on something?
Thanks for staying, Jill.
Yeah. Thank you, Jill. Seeing none, we'll move on to other business. Any other business? Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I do believe that we still have Commissioner Johnson, right? Okay, perfect. I just wanted to bring up, I know that a lot of us have been receiving emails from employees, parents of Little Oaks, and I've had some really great conversations with employees, parents of Little Oaks. I just met with Heather Mason yesterday to learn more information. There's a lot, in my opinion, there's a lot of things going on. And the one thing that I heard yesterday was that there's some anticipation of the contract hitting this committee in November. Given that the timeline is approaching sooner than later, the present contract expires on December 31st. We've only got a few more meetings before the end of the year, but I definitely just want to put it on the radar of all committee members that there's a lot of components to this, and I would hope that we would have some opportunities to engage in some proactive discussions before we lead into accepting the business, I guess. And I know that conversations will be had. I'm sorry?
Awarding a contract.
Awarding, thank you, Commissioner. But I say all of this because I'm getting more and more contacts from employees as the days pass. And so I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
So is there some particular action you're looking for?
No, for right now, I just wanted to put it on the radar and make sure that everybody is aware. As I said, I'm sure that most, if not all of us sitting around this table have been included in a variety of emails that have been going out from employees and parents.
No, I got the one email from the one parent, but I haven't seen anything else since, so.
But thank you.
Commissioner Gershenson, did you have something? Okay. All right. Any other business? So with that, seeing that there's no further business, the meeting is adjourned to October 15th for the call of the chair.